Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading. I'm reading March 13th, chapters 9 through 11. And it's a good one, I know, because I accidentally read it yesterday all the way through without my microphone on. So um, I'm glad you joined me. It's going to be a good one. And feel free to comment your thoughts about today's reading or make use of the email address that's in the description under the video. That's also a good place to request your free one-year Bible if you'd like one. Joshua 9, verse 1. When all the kings who were beyond the Jordan, in the hill country and in the lowland, and on all the shore of the great sea in front of Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, heard of it, they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and to Ai, they also resorted to a ruse, and went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks on their donkeys, old torn up and bound up wineskins, and old and patched shoes on their feet, and wore old garments. So Israel had come in and defeated Jericho and defeated Ai. And even though these giants that lived in the region, excuse me, it's my alarm, even though they were bigger and stronger and very intimidating, they were now afraid of Israel, Joshua and Israel. The fear of God came on them. So it's funny, I keep getting this picture of like people who become afraid, say, of an invasion of ants or locusts or, some mass invasion of some little bitty insect that we can crush with our fingers. That's how I picture this, that, they were becoming a nuisance, a pestilence to these inhabitants of the land that Joshua and Israel were driving out. So here, I'm giving you this background in case you didn't hear yesterday's, because it's starting right in the middle of the story. It says, when the kings heard of it, well, what they heard of was these defeats by Israel of Ai and Jericho. And so then you have the Gibeonites who decide, okay, well, we're not going to go up against them. They strategize by creating this ruse or charade or scam that they're going to tell them that they've coming from far, far away. And that's where I just left off a second ago. So it says they had the old sacks, the old torn up and bound wineskins, old and patched shoes on their feet, and old garments. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. They went to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal and said to him and to the men of Israel, "We have come from a far country. Now therefore make a covenant with us." The men of Israel said to the Hivites, "What if you live among us? How could we make a covenant with you?" They said to Joshua, "We are your servants." Joshua said to them, "Who are you? Where do you come from?" They said to him, "Your servants have come from a very far country because of the name of Yahweh your God, for we have heard of his fame, all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan." So remember, those two were before they crossed the Jordan. On the east side of the Jordan, we had this giant Sihon and Og. Og was the one with the huge iron bed. Remember, the bed was, I think, 13 and a half feet long and 6 feet wide. So it says they heard all that they had done to these two. It says, our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spoke to us, saying, "Take supplies in your hand for the journey and go to meet them. Tell them we are your servants. Now make a covenant with us. This is our bread. We took hot for our supplies out of our houses on the day we went out to go to you, but now, behold, it is dry and has become moldy. These wineskins which we filled were new, and behold, they are torn. These our garments and our shoes have become old because of the very long journey." The men sampled their provisions and didn't ask counsel from Yahweh's mouth. Big mistake, red flag. Excuse me. In fact, I think I'm going to underline that in my... This is chapter 9. Yeah, chapter 9, verse 14. The men sampled their provisions and didn't seek counsel from Yahweh's mouth. Verse 15. Joshua made peace with them and made a covenant with them and let them live. The princes of the congregation swore to them, that's the leaders of the tribes of Israel, the princes of the congregation. At the end of 3 days, after they had made a covenant with them, they heard that they were their neighbors and that they lived among them. The children of Israel traveled and came to their cities on the third day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Chephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. The children of Israel didn't strike them because the princes of the congregation had sworn to them by Yahweh, the God of Israel. All the congregation murmured against the princes, but the princes said to the congregation, "We have sworn to them by Yahweh, the God of Israel. Now therefore we may not touch them. We will do this to them and let them live, lest wrath be on us because of the oath which we swore to them." So see, they really believed in the power of their words, the power of an oath, the power of a curse, the power of a blessing, and that was their contract, and it mattered. But they didn't just think, "Oh well, I'm going to break the contract with you." They believed that a curse would come on them if they went against that, because God said, you know, keep your word. That's one of the commandments. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Tell the truth, have integrity. So they believed if they didn't operate that way, things would not go well with them. Well, I believe that. That's what I've come to learn as a believer. I mean, when I was way, way, way younger, before I got saved and gave my heart to the Lord, I was terrible. I lied. I was one of those teenagers that lied and didn't think anything of it. And these days, those teenagers grow up and lie to their bosses and lie to their spouses and don't think anything of it. But the Bible says that you're going to reap what you sow. Those are all seeds sown. Every thought, every word, every deed is a seed sown that will produce fruit. Because the Bible says God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. So see, they believe that. So even though they did this, they weren't going to go back on it. And it makes me wonder, because you'd think the contract would be null and void considering they found out the other people had frauded them into it. But it indicates here that they didn't think that. So it says, verse 21, the princess said to them, "Let them live." So they became woodcutters and drawers of water for all the congregation, as the princes had spoken to them. Joshua called for them, and he spoke to them, saying, "Why have you deceived us, saying we are from far from you when you live among us? Now therefore you are cursed, and some of you will never fail to be slaves, both woodcutters and drawers of water for the house of my God." So I guess those must have been the least favorite tasks, or the most time-consuming tasks, that they let them take them up. They delegated those to. What a relief that must have been to them, And somehow, remember, I always say, like, some of these parts of both the Torah and here in Joshua and other parts of the Bible, it's hard for us to understand in our modern paradigm, because they were all somehow okay taking them as slaves. They thought, well, that's fair. We deceived you. You're taking us as slaves. But also, we have to remember that when you were a slave, you were being taken care of. Um, and to some people, that's preferable to the alternative. Still that way today. You can look around. Some people would rather be, like, even in America, like a servant and be taken care of than to have to be responsible to go, like back in this day, get your own flock, take care of your own family, run your own business, so to speak. So it's interesting that they made them woodcutters and drawers of water, and they agreed. Verse 24, they answered Joshua and said, "Because your servants were certainly told how Yahweh your God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore we were very afraid for our lives because of you, and have done this thing. Now behold, we are in your hand. Do to us as it seems good and right to you to do." He did so to them and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, so that they didn't kill them. That day Joshua made them woodcutters and drawers of water, excuse me, for the congregation and for Yahweh's altar to this day in the place where he should choose. Chapter 10. Now when Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them. Isn't it funny, like, how word spread all over this entire region in that day? It doesn't seem like you do anything without everyone hearing about it. Verse 2, they were very afraid because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all its men were mighty. Therefore Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoham, king of Hebron, Hiram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, saying, "Come up to me and help me. Let us strike Gibeon, for they have made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel." Therefore the 5 kings of Amorite, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon gathered themselves together and went up. they and all their armies, and encamped against Gibeon and made war against it. The men of Gibeon sent to Joshua at the camp of Gilgal, saying, "Don't abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us. Help us, for all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the hill country have gathered together themselves against us." So Joshua went up from Gilgal, he and the whole army with him, including all the mighty men of valor. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Don't fear them, for I have delivered them into your hands. Not a man of them will stand before you." Joshua therefore came to them suddenly. And let me stop again. It's interesting that God intervened right when Joshua really needed it. I mean, this is what I found the Lord will do with me. He seems distant, he seems far off sometimes, and then suddenly there have been so many times when all of a sudden I will just get that word from the Lord. And I'm like, wow, seemingly out of the blue. Like, you didn't answer all my questions last week, but out of the blue on this one thing, you let me know. And it just never ceases to amaze me. I'll tell you one example. One time I was seeking God. I think I was even fasting. I was seeking God for instructions, and I heard the word Chicago. And I thought, what? Do you want me to go to Chicago, Lord? I mean, I really wrestled with this. I didn't understand what it meant at all. For a day, I guess, it wasn't very long. And one of my daughters called me and told me she was moving to Chicago. And I knew immediately, as soon as she said the word Chicago, I knew the Lord was, that's why the Lord had said that to me. And, I guess he was just giving me a heads up. It's one of his ways of letting me know that he knows exactly what's going on with my life. And all it was a confirmation that he saw what was going on. Just this out of the blue interjection into my life. But anyway, here he intervenes with Joshua because Joshua's about to do something that would be very fearful. And the Lord reminded him, "I'm with you. Don't fear them, for I've delivered them into your hands." So he's got that confidence. He's got his faith now, because what does this Bible say? Is it Hebrews that says faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God? So, and that's the revealed word, that Rhema word. So here it is. The Lord told me he's going to defeat him, so I'm going to go in there and defeat him. And then it says Joshua came to them suddenly, and I think that suddenly there, I'd have to look it up, but reading it in context means like right away, because you'll see it's used again in a few minutes, and it seems to be used the same way. So that word in context seems to be like he came to them right away. So it says, again, excuse my voice, verse 9, Joshua therefore came to them suddenly. He marched from Gilgal all night. Yahweh confused them before Israel. He killed them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them by way of the ascent of Beth-horon, and struck them to Azekah and to Makkedah, as they fled from before Israel, while they were at the descent of Beth-horon. Yahweh hurled down great stones from the sky on them at Azekah, and they died. There were more who died from the hailstones than those from the children of Israel, whom the children of Israel killed with the sword. Then Joshua spoke to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. He said in the sight of Israel, "Sun, stand still on Gibeon. You, moon, stop in the valley of Ajalon." The sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the nation had avenged themselves of their enemies. Isn't this written in the book of Jasher? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky and didn't hurry to go down for about a whole day. There was no day like that before it or after, that Yahweh listened to the voice of a man, for Yahweh fought for Israel. Now, I believe that was true, that really happened. And I wish I had a reference for it, but I heard a sermon one time where the man talked about the astrological proof that they had found about this missing day. Maybe you can look it up somewhere if you're interested. But it was really fascinating at the time. I just don't have any notes from that message. Verse 15, Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, in the camp to Gilgal. The 5 kings fled and hid themselves in a cave at Makkedah. Joshua told them, saying, Joshua was told, saying, the 5 kings have been found hidden in the cave at Makkedah. I don't know how to say that one. Makkedah. I'll say Makkedah. Verse 18, Joshua said, roll large stones to cover the cave's entrance and set men by it to guard them. But don't stay there. Pursue your enemies and attack them from the rear. Don't allow them to enter into their cities, for Yahweh your God has delivered them into your hand. When Joshua and the children of Israel had finished killing them with a very great slaughter until they were consumed, and the remnant which remained of them had entered into the fortified cities, all the people returned to camp to Joshua at Makkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then Joshua said, "Open the cave entrance and bring those 5 kings out of the cave to me." They did so and brought those 5 kings out of the cave to him, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. Now, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure these were giant men. I mean, big. Probably at least 9 feet, if not 12. Go look that up sometime. But, that's extra biblical speculation. But more than likely that was the case. So they're huge. So you can imagine this whole production. And it says, when they brought the kings out to Joshua, Joshua called for all the men of Israel and said to the chiefs of the men of war who went with him, "Come near, put your feet on the necks of these kings." They came near and put their feet on the necks. Joshua said to them, "Don't be afraid nor be dismayed. Be strong and courageous, for Yahweh will do this to all your enemies against whom you fight." So he's using them for a demonstration of, a memorial to God, a clear picture so that they will never forget what God has done here. Afterward, Joshua struck them, put them to death, and hanged them on 5 trees. They were hanging on the trees until evening. At that time of the going down of the sun, Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees. They threw them into the cave in which they had hidden themselves, and laid great stones on the mouth of the cave, which remain to this very day. Joshua took Makkedah on that day and struck it with the edge of the sword and with its king. He utterly destroyed it and all the souls who were in it. He left no one remaining. He did to the king Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua passed from Makkedah and all Israel with him to Libnah and fought against Libnah. Yahweh delivered it also and its king into the hand of Israel. He struck it with the edge of the sword and all the souls who were in it. He left no one remaining in it. He did to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua passed from Libnah and all Israel with him to Lachish and encamped against it and fought against it. Yahweh delivered Lachish into the hand of Israel. He took it on the 2nd day and struck it with the edge of the sword and with all the souls who were in it, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Hormon, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua struck him and his people until he had left no one remaining. Joshua passed from Lachish and all Israel with him to Eglon, and they encamped against it and fought against it. They took it on that day and struck it with the edge of the sword. He utterly destroyed all the souls who were in it that day, according to all that he had done in Lachish. I said yesterday when I recorded this, when I accidentally recorded without the microphone on, I said, I guess Joshua figured while he had God's favor, he'd go ahead and just take care of all of it. He went all around the region here. So it says, they took it and struck it with the edge of the sword, with its king and its cities and all the souls who were in it, and left no one remaining according to all he had done to Eglon. But he utterly destroyed it and all the souls who were in it. Joshua returned and all Israel with him to Debir and fought against it. He took it with its kings and all its cities and struck them with the edge of the sword and utterly destroyed all the souls who were in it. He left no one remaining. As he had done to Hebron, so he did to Debir and to its king, as he had done also to Libnah and its king. So Joshua struck all the land, the hill country, the south, the lowland, the slopes, and all their kings. He left no one remaining. But he utterly destroyed all that breathed, as Yahweh the God of Israel had commanded. Joshua struck them from Kadesh Barnea even to Gaza, and all the country of Goshen even to Gibeon. He took all the kings in the land at one time, because Yahweh the God of Israel fought for Israel. That's just what I said. He knew God was fighting with him, and he went ahead and went for it, took care of it, did what God said to do. Joshua returned and all Israel with him to the camp at Gilgal. Chapter 11, last chapter. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard it, he sent to Jobab, king of Madon, the king of Shimron, the king of Akshaph, and to the kings who were on the north, in the hill country, in the Arabah south of Chinneroth, in the lowland, and in the heights of Dor on the west, to the Canaanite on the east and the west, the Amorite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite in the hill country, and the Hivite under Hermon in the land of Mitzpah. They went out, they and all their armies with them, many people, even as the sand of the seashore, in multitude, with very many horses and chariots. All these kings met together, and they came and encamped together at the waters of Merom to fight Israel. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Don't be afraid because of them, for tomorrow at this time I will deliver them up, all slain before Israel. You shall hamstring their horses and burn their chariots with fire. So Joshua came suddenly, see, with all the warriors. So he immediately responded to that word. God gave him the word and he acted on it. So it says, same thing as last time. So Joshua came suddenly with all the warriors against them by the waters of Merom and attacked them. Yahweh delivered them into the hand of Israel, and they struck them and chased them to the great Sidon and to Misrephoth Maim and to the valley of Mizpah eastward. They struck them until they left them no one remaining. Joshua did to them as Yahweh told him. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots with fire. Joshua turned back at that time and took Hazor and struck its king with the sword, for Hazor used to be the head of those kingdoms, the head of all those kingdoms. They struck all the souls who were in it with the edge of the sword, utterly destroying them. There was no one left who breathed. He burned Hazor. I wonder if they actually checked him for breathing. He burned Hazor with fire. Joshua captured all the cities with those kings and their kings and struck them with the edge of the sword and utterly destroyed them, as Moses, the servant of Yahweh, commanded. I wonder if Moses was up in heaven or with the Lord, shouting and watching. I bet he was. But as for the cities that stood on the mounds, Israel burned none of them except Hazor only. Joshua burned that. The children of Israel took. Wait, let me back up. What's this? As for the cities that stood on the mounds, I wonder what that was. Israel burned none of them except Hazor only. Joshua burned that. The children of Israel took all the plunder of the cities with the livestock as plunder for themselves, but every man they struck with the edge of the sword until they had destroyed them. They didn't leave any who breathed. As Yahweh commanded Moses his servant, so Moses commanded Joshua. Joshua did so. He left nothing undone of all that Yahweh commanded Moses. So Joshua captured all the land, the hill country, the south, the land of Goshen, the lowland of Arabah, the hill country of Israel, and the lowland of the same, from Mount Halak that goes up to Seir, even to Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon, under Mount Hermon. He took all their kings, struck them, and put them to death. Joshua made a war a long time with all those kings. I was thinking that must have taken a long time. Can you imagine? This is hand-to-hand combat. Very bloody, very long and drawn out. Crazy. Verse 19. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel except the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. They took all in battle. For it was of Yahweh to harden their hearts to come against Israel in battle, that he might utterly destroy them, that they might have no favor, and that he might destroy them as Yahweh commanded. As Yahweh commanded Moses. Joshua came at that time and cut off the Anakim, those were giants, from the hill country, from Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, and from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua utterly destroyed them with their cities. There were none of the Anakim left in the land of the children of Israel, only in Gaza, in Gath. Remember, Goliath was from Gath, the giant that David slew. And I heard someone say, and you can see it in the Bible, I just never thought about that David was the one who finally finished off all these races of giants when he was warring. And then remember, Solomon had peace after that. So it says, only in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod did some remain. So Joshua took the whole land, ascending to all that Yahweh spoke to Moses, and Joshua gave it for an inheritance to Israel, according to their divisions by tribes. The land had rest from war. That's it for today's reading. Thanks so much for joining me. God bless you today.